In today's video, we are making 3 homemade vegan cookies that are all made from the same dough. So it's 3 completely different cookies. I've got one that is pretzels with s'mores, vegan marshmallows, a little salty, a little crunchy, a little gooey. I've got one that's orange and cranberry with pistachios, and I've got one that is a chocolate hazelnut. It tastes like a Ferrero Rocher. It's such a crowd pleaser. You guys are gonna love all of it, but the cool thing is that it starts with 1 cookie dough. So first I'll teach you how to make the base cookie dough, and it couldn't be easier. We're just gonna start with some ground flaxseed, and we're gonna mix that together with water. This is gonna replace the chicken's egg that you would normally find in a cookie recipe, and this way we have an all-natural way of holding the cookies together and creating a very beautiful texture. So while that sets, I'm just gonna measure out my dry ingredients. I fluff up the flour with a spoon, and then I spoon it into my measuring cup for an accurate measurement, and then I add the flour to the bowl. Then I like to sift in my baking soda and my baking powder, because as you can see, sometimes it can clump up, and that can be hard to mix with the whisk when you're just whisking the dry ingredients together. And if you miss that, you'll end up biting into one of those clumps, and that is not pleasant. So I'm just gonna go ahead and add that to the bowl with some salt. Salt is so important in baked goods because it not only balances the sweetness, but it also sharpens and brightens all of the other flavors in the cookie and ties it all together. So I do that, and then I mix up some old-fashioned oatmeal. You just want to blend this for about 5 seconds to create a coarse oat flour, and this is going to be added to the dry ingredients. This adds not only a nice texture and a nice chew in the cookies, which is so delicious, but it also adds a kind of depth of flavor, a little bit of nuttiness and sweetness that you can't quite put your finger on, but it tastes so good. So set that aside, and then we're gonna mix together the wet ingredients. If you've ever had a really hard dry cookie, it might be because your sugar measurement is off. So I mix together my cane sugar and my brown sugar with some vegan butter, and when I measure my brown sugar, you want to press it down into the measuring cup using the side of the bag like this. That's my little hack. That way you're kind of firmly pressing it into the measuring cup, and it should hold its shape. That way you're getting the right amount of brown sugar, and you're going to have the perfect kind of ratio, because sugar is actually a wet ingredient. Once it's hydrated, it contributes to the overall moisture of the cookie, so it's important to make sure you're getting that measurement right. Whisk that all together, add some applesauce, which is another egg replacer, some vanilla, and the thickened flax egg, and that's it. Then we just combine the wet ingredients with the dry ingredients, and this is the base dough. From here, you can do so many different variations, which I'm gonna show you, but that's pretty much it. First up, we're gonna be making some chocolate hazelnut cookies, and this is perfect if you love Nutella or Ferrero Rochers. It's that really delicious combo of chocolate and hazelnuts, and there's a little hint of salt too, which really kind of brings it all together. I really think you guys are gonna love these. So all I do is I keep that base recipe the same. I make that dough, but what I'm gonna do is just go ahead and chop up some hazelnuts, toast them in a pan so they become really flavorful. Let them cool a little bit, and then just mix them into the dough. It's that simple, but having those really finely chopped toasted hazelnuts really plays up the chocolate hazelnut flavor that we're going to decorate with later on. So that's the only thing I'm going to do to change the recipe. Just add in the chopped hazelnuts. I scoop this onto a lined cookie sheet, and when I make this recipe, I like to use damp fingers and lightly press down on the cookies about 1/3 of the way down. This is going to encourage the cookies to spread into the perfect even round shape, so they're really easy to decorate. And if you have any kind of ragged edges, you can tuck them in before baking to just create a more uniform round cookie. Let them cool. They're going to be chewy and buttery in the center and nice and crisp on the outside. These are so good on their own, but we're going to take it to the next level with some fun frosting. One of the things I like about this cookie is you don't have to be an expert icer to decorate these cookies and make them look nice. I love decorating cookies. I think it's a fun thing to do, but I definitely am not an expert, and I don't really have the patience to be super precise, but I still want a pretty looking cookie. And so this is really great because if you can spread peanut butter on toast, you can spread chocolate hazelnut spread on a cookie. There's a lot of different kind of hazelnut spreads that I like, but on this day I went for this one, and it is so good. It tastes just like Nutella, and it's the perfect frosting for these cookies. It's so much easier than making your own. You can buy it just in the peanut butter section of your grocery store and spread a thin layer all over the cookie. The best way I found to do this is to kind of dollop it in the center and then rotate the cookie around with the butter knife kind of flat, and that's just a really easy way to get a nice circle. I add some more toasted hazelnuts on top, and the these are ready to serve. They hold up really well too. Like, I find that the flavor is even more delicious the next day. They don't dry out. They stay really nice and tender with that perfect amount of chew, and the chocolate and the hazelnuts and that little bit of salt and vegan butter is just heaven. The edges are nice and crispy, but the center part is so tender and it's just super, super flavorful. I think a lot of Christmas cookies are undersalted. This doesn't taste like a salty cookie, but all the flavors really pop and blend together. And I think that's really important when you're dealing with rich ingredients like chocolate, hazelnuts, brown sugar, but having that perfect balance of salt, like not too much, not too little, it really just brings out the flavor in the cookie. So you have a very flavorful, buttery brown sugar hazelnut cookie with the chocolate Nutella on top. It stops it from being sickly sweet, but it also just enhances all of the flavors. So salt is just the real MVP here, you know what I mean? Next, we're going to totally change gears, and just by swapping out a couple of ingredients, we're going to create an entirely different cookie. These are my iced cranberry orange cookies, and they are so good. It's really amazing how different all these cookies taste, even though they have the same base recipe, and this one might be my favorite because it's really packed with flavor. For the wet ingredients, and don't worry, I'm going to write all of these recipes out in the description box below, so you don't have to remember these swaps, but the swaps are really simple. I use fresh orange juice in place of the water when I make the flax egg, which will add a nice subtle orange flavor. And I amp it up a little bit farther by adding some fresh orange zest to the wet ingredients. And then instead of vanilla extract, I use almond extract, which I just think tastes like Christmas cookies. And for the dry ingredients, I keep everything the same, but I add a little bit of cinnamon. I'm just gonna go ahead and add my mix-ins, which are gonna be really festive and holiday appropriate, with some green, crunchy pistachios and some red, chewy, sweet, and tart cranberries. This combination is killer, especially with that orange zest. It's so good. It even smells good when you're mixing it. And if you find that some of your cookies aren't really round enough and you want them to look, extra pretty and presentable, you can actually manipulate them a little bit while they're warm. So while they're cooling on the tray, you can use a spatula or a butter knife and just kind of tap, tap, tap around the sides. And this will kind of coax them into a more round shape. And once they cool, they'll be nice and round. Then another way to set these cookies apart is to change up the decoration. And so for this, I'm going to do kind of an old school classic iced oatmeal cookie presentation. And this is really easy. You're just going to make a glaze or an icing with some powdered sugar, almond milk, vanilla, and a pinch of salt. And I just kind of zigzag it over the cookie. And then I use a spoon or an offset spatula just to kind of coax it around the cookie. And when it sets, it'll be nice and firm. And this, the vanilla, the almond, the orange, the pistachio, the cinnamon, that little bit of sea salt, they're buttery. I couldn't even, when I did this taste test, I couldn't even speak. I just literally ended up eating the whole cookie without even thinking. It's so, so good. Up next, we're gonna make some vegan pretzel s'mores cookies, and these are a big showstopper. They get a lot of oohs and ahs when you present them because they look so decadent. You've got gooey chocolate, you've got toasted marshmallows, you've got crunchy salted pretzels all in one. So you have sweet and salty and gooey and crispy, and it's so good. I know you guys are gonna love these. These are the showstopper cookies, you guys. These are the ones that everyone oohs and ahs about and they can't believe they're vegan. I love using these Enjoy Life mini chocolate chips, so I'm just gonna make the dough like you saw me do before, but I'm gonna add the mini chocolate chips and some Dandy's vegan marshmallows. Not all marshmallows are vegan because of the gelatin, but these are totally gelatin free. So I'll add that in and they're gonna get really kind of plump and gooey and create a really delicious s'mores flavor in the cookie. Then for a nice salty crunch, I'm gonna add some chopped up pretzels. I don't even bother chopping them though. I just kind of break them into small pieces and I'm gonna add that to the cookie dough as well. And what I like to do when I'm mixing this together is to kind of, just like I'm making chocolate chip cookies, I'll mix it all together. But then when it's actually on the cookie sheet, I like to add another marshmallow or some extra chocolate chips on top and kind of tuck everything in. So you have that really beautiful visual effect when the cookies are done baking. You can see immediately like, ooh, these are s'mores cookies, like instantly. And when you pull them apart, you get that gorgeous marshmallow and chocolate pull, which is just dreamy. Such a flavorful cookie. Gooey, chocolatey. The cookie itself is really flavorful too. You've got that brown sugar butter cookie thing going on with the pretzels, and the crunch, and the gooey, and the chewy, and the crisp edges. I'd love to know which one of these cookies you're the most excited to make first. And if you make any of these cookies at home, tag me in a picture on Instagram so that I can check it out. I love giving you guys shout outs when you make my recipes. It seriously makes my day. All the recipes that you saw in this video are in the description box below. So I hope you enjoy baking this holiday season, and I will see you in a video very soon. Bye.